Good morning, folks. Hope we're all doing well. In today's video, I'm going to have a £15 budget to buy a limited team that can compete in either the Cap 220 or the Cap 240 league. The 5 players I've selected, I'm basing it on their last sale price, and that comes in at a total of £14.59. And in terms of the last 15 average, the combined total will come to 217 points. So personally, I would use this as my threshold team, and there is loads of room for manoeuvre in terms of if certain players go through a purple patch and their L15 gets a bit higher, then obviously there's 23 points to play with. Now, all the players I'm going to mention, I own myself. So like always, please do your own research. However, I am very confident that these players would more often than not hit you the 250 points, which would return $5. So your return on investment, in my opinion, would be returned rather quickly. And by the end of the season, if the players remain uninjured and they play most of the games, they're going to make a decent return. This could obviously apply to rares. However, I don't know the prices. I've just looked at this specifically for the limited teams. So I've gone through a list of players and put their pros and cons. And as you can see, the first player is David Marshall. In my opinion, he's going to be the #1 goalkeeper for Hibs next season. The downside of him, he's obviously getting on. He's 38, 39 years of age. The other downside to him is when they play Rangers and Celtic, more often than not, they're going to concede 3, 4, possibly more goals. So that's going to affect his score. But on the plus side, like I said, in my opinion, he's going to be Hibs' #1 keeper. And Hibs are a decent side in the SPL based off last season. So his price is £5.9, or that's what his last sale was. And I believe for a starting goalkeeper, that's excellent value. However, like I said, when they play Rangers and Celtic, you might want another keeper in as cover so you can play some other goalkeeper. And he has got 1 year left on his contract. So at his age, I don't think he's going to be wanting to sit on the bench. He'll want to play. My defender for this team would be Jake Bidwell, who's at Coventry. His last sale price was £1.34. His last 15 average is 43. And if I didn't mention it for David Marshall, it is 41. So Jake Bidwell's 43 last 15. The pluses for me is Coventry are a decent side. They arguably overachieved last season. Mark Robbins has done a fantastic job there at Coventry, and I don't think they might not get in the playoffs this season, but I don't think they're going to be in any relegation battle or anything like that. Also, he plays in the Championship, so in terms of utility, they're going to play 46 games, which is by far the most in any league in Europe or anywhere in the world. So the utility you're going to get with Jake Bidwell is the best you can get. In terms of negativity, I seen that he was linked to Birmingham towards, I don't know, it was January or February of last year. There was links for him to go to Birmingham. If he did go to Birmingham in the summer, I think Birmingham will be one of the sides who are going to struggle in the Championship next year. So preferably, I'd like him to stay at Coventry. You can also see he is capable of putting in some decent to good scores. Now, for this side, and specifically for threshold teams, I like to play 2 midfielders. So the first one is Peter McCall, who plays for Lask in Austria. His last sale is of £1.76. He's a sort of steady Eddie sort of guy. He is capable of hitting a decent score from time to time. Just for your information, it is his worst goal scoring season since being at Lask. He's not scored a goal at all this season. He's in his last year of the contract next season, so if he's going to want to stay at Lask where he's been for a long, long time, in my opinion, he's going to have to back his ideas up. As you can see, he's got a very, very good record of goals and assists before last year. Don't know what's happened to him last year because Lask done well as well last season. They finished third, which is another positive that I've put down for this guy, is he plays for the third best team in the league. So I'm hoping, like I said, final season of his contract, that he starts bucking his ideas up and starts scoring and assisting on a more frequent basis. The other positive with Peter McCall, they've qualified, I believe, for that European Champions, fucking whatever it's called, the league, the West, or the competition the West Ham won, the Conference League, whatever it is. So there's going to be utility, extra utility for him. And all these little things add up, because the more utility you can get for the players, the better. I can't really find any negatives on this guy other than, poor in terms of goals last season. So hopefully he rectifies this season, or the season we're going to come into, and that's the hope. But I think he's decent value, and his last 15 is averaging 44. Now my next selection is Otar Kichavili, plays for Sturm Graz, again in the Austrian Bundesliga. His last sale was £1.78. However, you might struggle to get him for that cheap. But I've used that because you can see his last four previous were £2 something. But I've used £1.78 because that's what I'm doing in terms of the budget, the last sale price. Now, this guy suffered a terrible injury towards the end of, or the middle of last season. And I'm talking 2021-22 season. You can see he's got a decent record of scoring and assisting. In my opinion, he's a guaranteed starter if fit. The positives for him, he plays for the second best team in Austria. They've qualified for Europe. And also, in my opinion, he's a regular starter for the Georgian national team. So again, you're getting more utility because he represents his country. Like McCall, he is coming up to his final year of his contract. I'm rather looking at that as a negative. I think that's a positive because they'll have a point to prove. They'll either want to play well to get a move or play well to get another contract, their current club. And for the league he's at, the level he's playing, he's a quality player for that level. He will score and assist, in my opinion, on a fairly regular basis next season. And the final thing I need to say about Otar is his last 15, he's averaging 48. Now, my final selection and the striker of this team would be Ty Barabo. Plays for Wolfsberger in Austria as well. And he's yet another one whose contract is going to end at the end of the 24 season. So again, he's going to have a point to prove if he wants to stay and get a new contract, or if he's looking to move. His last sale price was £4.62, and his last 15 average is just 41. The positives I've put about this guy, he's got a great history of scoring goals. As you can see, last season he scored 17 goals in 33 games and assisted 2. The other positive, he's an Israeli international. So again, he's got more utility than non-international players. And for what I would class as a almost guaranteed regular starting striker, I think £4.62 represents excellent value. The only downside with him that I can think of, he plays for a bang average side in Austria. But on the flip side and the positive, he's banging them in for the bang average side. So there you have it, folks. There's my very professional spreadsheet. As you can see, the total is £14.59. The average is 217. So like I said at the beginning, you could put this side in the Cap 220 league. However, my preference would be to put it in a Cap 240, because I am absolutely convinced, providing these players stay fit, that they would more than return an initial investment within, I don't know, I would be very disappointed within 8 game weeks if I hadn't returned my money. And like I said, over the season, I would be hoping to show some decent profit from that. And like I said, I've left 217. I've left it at a small number because there's obviously 23 to play with. Because if someone got injured, for argument's sake, I could bring in a better player whose average is a little bit better. It's just room for manoeuvre, basically. And that's what I like, because I don't want my teams being right on the top of the cap. Because, like I said, if they all have a good game week, that one game week, that could push them all over. And you're looking to go and buy more players then, and it sort of defeats the object, because if you're using the money that you're winning most game weeks to reinvest, it's just you're not actually showing any profit other than increasing your gallery. So there we have it, guys. I think 15 quid for that side is absolute quality. Like I said, I own all these players, so please do your own research. I am going to keep a track of this, and more often than not, this will be, especially at the beginning of the season, this will be roughly my threshold team in the limited, and I'm just going to just monitor and see how it goes on. Anyway, guys, again, food for thought. Have a look round. It's easy, in my opinion, to get players like this. There's so much value at this moment in time, and all the very best, and I'll see you soon.